How Mitakuyepi. Today is the 26th of June, 2026. And I want to say a few things about this 150th anniversary of the Battle of the Greasy Grass, the Battle of the Little Bighorn, or it's also known as Custer's Last Stand. I want to say some things about it because I've been looking at videos of the celebration that's going on, and a lot of the videos are really nice. But there are some videos that I have to say something about because it does not reflect the spirit of that event, of what happened on that day 150 years ago. For example, I saw one video where riders are coming, because all the tribes that are involved, these are all Lakota tribes, Northern Cheyenne, Southern Cheyenne, Arapaho. The Cheyenne and the Arapaho were our allies. And so a lot of people are coming in from those tribes too, and they all are coming in on horse. They're riding horses in, and it's wonderful to see that. But there was one video where somebody was, whoever was holding their camera and making comments, and that person said, "See, this is just like how it was when our ancestors came to get Custer." And at first I had to laugh because that's not why they were there. They did not come to get Custer. Most of them did not know that was going to happen. The reason why all these Lakota people were assembled along with their allies, Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, the reason why they were gathered at that location is because they were there to do the Sundance. See, anciently, the Sundance was held in that area. And there was only one Sundance in those times. And all the people came together for this event. It was a 12-day event. The first 4 days were days of preparation, where dancers separate from their families and they stay to themselves because they are going to enter the a bridge. They're going to establish a bridge from our world to the world that we don't see. And so they have to get themselves ready for that. On the fourth preparation day was what they call Tree Day. And then there's a second 4 days. That's the actual dancing. And they pierce at the end of that part. And then comes another 4 days, a third set. And in that third set of 4 days, the dancers slowly are coming back to the physical realm. And so that's why it's 12 days long. 4 days preparation, 4 days dancing and piercing, and the third 4 days to come back to reality. So on the 12th day is when the dancers come back to their families. They have feast, and sometimes some dancers, their fourth year is done. You only dance 4 years. You don't dance 20, 27 or whatever years. It's only 4. This is not a religion, okay? Because today people violate this, and they'll say, I've been doing this for 33 years, and that's like too much sugar. And what happens when you have too much sugar? Diabetes. What does diabetes do? Kills you if you don't manage it. So it's not about how many years you do that. You only do that 4 years, then you're done. That's it. Okay? That's the original way. And so this is what our ancestors did once a year. Summer solstice, which is June 21st. So that's when they come, yeah, they assemble. A long time ago, they would assemble in this place called Mitakuyepi. It's a very ancient star knowledge location. And so all these tribes come together, yeah. Nobody had, their own Sundance, and this family has their own. That didn't exist back then. Everybody came to one Sundance. And that's what the Lakota people were doing in 1876. Because, see, there was an order that all Indians were supposed to, go to their reservations, and if they did not go, then they were seen as hostile, and the cavalry was given permission to kill them. So Sitting Bull at that time wanted to have one big, final Sundance, because once they're on the reservations, they can't do that anymore. It has to be at that location because that's the Star Knowledge location. Yeah. So you don't have it here and there and there. Okay, next year, let's go over there. They didn't do that. It was always in that same place. So Sitting Bull sent message to others saying, let's still do that, yeah, because this is our way. So that's why they were assembling. Most people don't know that. What most people say is that, yeah, they wanted to have one last celebration. And no, that's not the reason. Yeah, they were coming for the last time that they might do the Sundance for a long time because of the government forcing everybody on reservations. And this is what happened every year before 1876 for hundreds of years. Yeah, they always gathered at that location to do that ceremony. It's a summer solstice event. So this is the reason why they were there. I read in another book, it said, yeah, they wanted to live in their own country, to, have their own place. No, that wasn't the reason either. The reason was, again, they wanted to do the Sundance. So that's why they were there. And during that Sundance, Sitting Bull received a vision where he saw soldiers falling from the sky, and they were all beaten. So he thought, okay, looks like there's a possibility that we're going to be attacked. So you see, they did not come to get Custer. They didn't even know he was coming. Okay? What Sitting Bull saw was a vision of what's going to happen in the next few days. It did not say Custer. He just saw soldiers, cavalry soldiers, that they would be coming, and that they're going to fall from the sky, meaning they're going to be killed. And it was a scary thing to see. So he sent word among the camp to everybody, be alert. And he's already organizing that all the women and old people and children are placed in certain locations, and we have to have a place in case this happens to take them to a safe place right away. Now, Custer, at that time, he was just making a comeback. See, he got kicked out of the military before that. He's very pompous, arrogant, he's a narcissist. And he did something in the past that was not good. And the government, military, kicked him out. And so he tried to, he wanted to make a comeback. So he pled his case, and to make a long story short, he was reinstated, but at a lower level. And he was told he has to obey the officers that used to be under him. Now they're over him. So he has to obey what they say. And at that time, they're looking to collect Indians to take them back to the reservation. So they were not looking for battle. And the scouts for the cavalry were mainly Crow Indians, Shoshone Indians, and these people called Assiniboine, which speak a form of Dakota. Interesting, yeah? They're similar language to ours, but they're our enemies. Interesting. But these tribal people were scouts for the cavalry. And so they were helping, to track, to see where the Lakota people are and stuff like that. And their Custer's superiors told him, okay, we think they're in this one location. So we want you to go and scout it out. Do not attack. And he only had about 300 soldiers with him. And his superiors told him, do not attack. You're just there to go see how many of them are there. Where are they and how big is this camp? That's his only assignment. And he went, yeah. And his scouts, they were coming to the area. They saw it and they were shocked because they realized how huge this settlement was. And so as they were going near, well, they crossed the area where they had just done the Lakota people had just done their Sundance. And these tribes, they're enemies, but, in those days, enemies respected each other because those people, they might be different, they might speak another language, they might not like you, but they're somebody's son. There are providers for their children. So a long time ago, to kill was the worst thing you could do to your enemy. That was not an honor. Yeah, that was not an honor. To kill was not an honor. So the tribes all followed that rule in the Great Plains of America, North America. That's all the tribes followed that rule. So when these Crow scouts came upon this Sundance area, they thought, oh, geez, oh no, that's not good. They violated a sacred place. And they knew we're going to die. That's what they said to each other. So they told Custer, don't go because the camp is huge. And Custer got mad at these scouts. And then these scouts said, well, we made a pledge, yeah, to do this job, so we're going to do our part. And they started to sing that they're going to die. And Custer was really flabbergasted about that. Yeah, so why are they singing? Yeah, and they're starting to prepare themselves to go into battle, but they are preparing to die. And so that's when they go in. And the village is attacked. And like I said, Sitting Bull already had the plan set up. So everybody, the children, old people, and ladies were moved to someplace safe. Then he started directing, where to attack and stuff like that, where to defend. So the bottom line is the Lakota people and their allies came to do Sundance ceremony. Their ceremony had ended, and 4 days later, they were attacked. So think about that. What do you think the mindset was of our ancestors? They had just done this Holy of Holies ceremony. Are they thinking battle? No, they're not. Yeah, they're thinking that we must do our best to live yeah, to do things that our people will live, that will continue, that our descendants will come and still have something, a culture, language, spirituality. That's what was on their minds, not battle. But they were told this possibility might happen. So when the attack began, they have to switch their thinking really quick. But at least they were a little bit prepared. Yeah. So then they retaliated. And by the way, Crazy Horse was off doing something else. He was there. Yeah. He was at the Sundance. But his group went to check something out because they saw activity, from Calvary in another location. So they went to check that out. Turned out I think that was a decoy. So they were kind of tricked. And so they decided to turn around. By that time, the battle's already happening. So there's movies where you see Crazy Horse coming in with his spear and riding towards Custer and throwing his spear at Custer. And he's, that's total BS, yeah? He wasn't the one who killed him. So Custer was not supposed to attack, but he did anyway. And Lakota people were ready. And you have to remember, there's thousands of Lakota people there. Because this is the one big ceremony they do every year. Yeah? And so you have thousands of warriors and 300 cavalry. Who do you think is going to win? It's really one-sided, yeah? And so the battle lasted probably about 15 minutes and it was done. And Sitting Bull gave the order, don't take anything from the soldiers. Do the people listen? No. They're going to the soldiers and they're taking their things, yeah? Guns and shiny objects and hats and jackets and they were mutilating the bodies, and Sitting Bull told them not to do that, but they did it anyway. And so he thought, oh boy, there's going to be payback. Yeah, this is just one battle. This is not going to be good after that. And a lot of people felt this. Yeah. So that night of the battle, it was very disturbing. They were not celebrating. They weren't going, yeehaw, waving their eagle staffs and riding their horses all over the place, going, yeehaw, we kicked Custer's ass. They were not saying that. It was very troubling and disturbing because a lot of Lakota people died during this battle too. It wasn't just Custer. Yeah, their whole troop was wiped out. There was only 300 of them. But a lot of Lakota people died too. And that's was a very sad thing. There was crying happening all through this valley. Families were mourning for their providers. Yeah? Their protectors. They were mourning for them. It was sad. Because they didn't know what's going to happen next. Because they see there's only 300. The leaders know the cavalry is huge. A lot of them have gone to Washington, D.C., and they saw the size and the weaponry of the cavalry. So they knew there's going to be payback. So they were scared of what's going to happen next. They were not celebrating. And they decided, okay, we have to leave this area. Sitting Bull takes his group into Canada. Crazy Horse takes his group into the Teton Mountains. and they're being chased because the cavalry's coming in full force. There's more of them. They're a bigger army, and they have more weapons. Winter came, and the crazy horse looked at his people and saw that if they continue being on the run, they're all going to die from the winter, from pneumonia, from all these illnesses you can get during the wintertime if you don't stay warm, freeze to death, and so forth. So he decided to surrender so that his people would live. Sitting Bull did something very similar too. He surrendered so that his people will live. Because he knows there's going to be a big payback. And there was. That payback happens 14 years later. That's the Wounded Knee Massacre of 1890. That was their payback. So, that event, what happened on that day? They didn't know they were going to be attacked. They didn't know what day. Like I said, Sitting Bull had a vision that this might happen. But he didn't know what day. He didn't know who it was. He just knew it was the cavalry. So they were not setting up trenches and have their guns and bow and arrows ready and waiting. Wasn't like that. They did not come to get Custer. They came to Sundance. And then they were attacked. And the man leading the attack was told, do not attack. But he did it anyway. Yes, it was a victory. But they did not celebrate. Because they knew something is going to come to answer that. So, this was a day of mourning. This was not a day of celebration. This was not Freedom Day. This was a day of mourning. So, I need to have this out there because everybody has got an incorrect perception of what happened. And, they were not saying, we defeated America. They were not saying that. Because 300 soldiers? Do you really think that's the full American force? Drop in the bucket. They were not saying that. This was a day of mourning. And there was a song that was created. And the song, it's, my friend, where are you? Where did you go? I'm looking for you. Those are the words to this song. And it had a slow drum beat, yeah? Like that. Starts out something like Kolato Kile, something like that. But what I heard on these videos is that's not how they sang that song. This is not Freedom Day. This is a day of mourning. This was a very troubling time. And we have to look at the bigger picture. We have to be careful not to look at this as a us against them, because we all breathe the same air. The sun warms us all. The wind gives us the ability to breathe. And the water, we're all 60-something% water. Everybody. Yeah? All humans regardless of what color your skin is. The word Mitakuyepi, this includes everybody. It's not us against them. And it's not just humans. It's animals. It's plants. It's the air, the water, the fire, the earth. We all bleed red. Inside of us is the same. That's where reality begins, inside of us. So we should look at events, how they affect everyone, and not fall into us against them, because that's connected to hatred, not love. That's how we should look at all war. Like I said, long time ago, among the tribes, in war, you do not kill. When Lakota people first encountered the cavalry, they were counting coup on them. And so they were shocked when they realized the cavalry came to kill. Because in the Lakota perspective, that's dishonorable. But they had to adapt, even though they knew that was not right. War is never good. No matter what side it is that we're talking about, it's never good, because it affects all life. Families are traumatized. So a lot of Lakota people were traumatized on that day. They had PTSD. Is that a day to celebrate? Is that freedom? Almost the opposite. So my prayer is for everyone. Everybody involved. It's the things that we do that are not healthy. But no race is the bad race or the good race. It's how you live your life. So my hope is that peace is the goal when looking at events such as this, world wars, Vietnam, what's happening in the Mideast, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, what the deal that's going on now. The goal should be peace. That we do not look at others and judge them. So, war is not a good thing. It traumatizes a lot of people. And that goes generationally. And if we don't learn from that, then that hatred builds. And then we go against ourselves. When you hate somebody, you're going against yourself. You're not living when you hate. And that's what I saw in a lot of these videos. That's not the way our ancestors perceived it. They were doing a ceremony for them to honor the ancestors and to honor the descendants who are still coming. That's the way to live. Reality begins within. Everything is connected inside of us. So we nurture those connections as best as we can, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. That all connects in the center. That's your sacred center. I just encourage you to think about what I said and live so that there's peace inside of you. because reality begins within. And if you have peace inside of you, that's going to come out and nurture it all around us. That's the way our ancestors lived. And it would be good if we lived like that too, so when our descendants come, we can share that with them by how we live. So they have something, that we leave them something, so that they will live too. I just ask that you think about this and see what you come up with. But one more time, this was not a day of celebration. This was a sad day. I'll leave this with you, and thank you for taking the time to listen. Hohechetuwelo. That's the way it is. I invite you to come visit my website at wolakota7.com. You can see the address on the screen, and here you can learn about the books that I've written and also some of the services that I offer. For example, spiritual consultation and Lakota language lessons. And you can see the books that I wrote, and one of them, called Keya Mato Stonehearts, I wrote with my wife. And if you would like to order these books or order any of my services, you can see all the information on the screen. And for more questions, please write to me at the email address that you see at the bottom right of the screen. Thank you very much for listening to this video, and I really appreciate your support of this channel. Also, thank you for the comments that you leave. I read them all, and I really appreciate them. And if there's information here that can help you, then that's cool. And if not, then, well, that's okay too. And thank you very much for being a part of this community. I invite you to visit my other channel, which is called Lakota Language from the Heart. And I'm putting a link to it in the video description. So check out my new channel, which is exclusively about learning to speak the Lakota language from the heart. Everything is a circle. There is no end. So that's why we say until next time, which in Lakota is Doksha Ake.